The first time they realized the sky could listen, it was already too late. Nyolong was sitting on the roof of his small wooden house, knees pulled to his chest, watching the stars flicker like nervous eyes. The city below him was quiet, but not peaceful. It was the kind of quiet that came from exhaustion. People had simply run out of things to hope for. He held his phone loosely in his hand, scrolling through old photos of her. Jinnu. In every picture, she looked as if she belonged to another world. Her smile was soft, but her eyes carried galaxies. He wondered if she had always known that she would never fully belong to his world. The last message from her still sat unread in his mind, replaying like a broken echo. If one day I disappear, do not think I stopped loving you. Sometimes love is the very reason we must leave. He hated that line. He loved it. He feared it. He had thought it was poetic nonsense. He had thought she was just being dramatic. He had been wrong. Jinnu had always felt the sky calling her. Not in the metaphorical way poets described, but in a way that felt physical, like gravity pulling her upward instead of down. As a child, she used to stare at the stars until her eyes hurt, convinced that if she stared long enough, someone would stare back. Her mother used to tell her she was born under a strange constellation. Her teachers said she was too quiet, too detached, too lost in her own universe. Her classmates said she was weird, too serious, too unreachable. Nyolong never said any of that. He said, "You look like someone who belongs to the sky, but chose to walk on earth." Their love had been simple at first. Late-night walks. Cheap street food. Quiet conversations about nothing and everything. They talked about the future the way children talk about magic, half believing, half dreaming. But Jinnu always avoided one topic. Her family. Whenever Nyolong asked, her answers were vague. Her parents traveled. They worked in research. They lived far away. She had grown up with relatives. It sounded believable. It sounded normal. It was a lie. Her family was not just distant. They were not human. They were celestial weavers, keepers of the cosmic order, creators of patterns in the universe. They believed love was chaos, and chaos was a flaw in the design of existence. And Jinnu had committed the greatest sin imaginable. She had fallen in love with a mortal. Heaven did not notice immediately. Love between mortals happened all the time. But love between a celestial being and a human left ripples, distortions in fate, anomalies in probability, slight misalignments in the stars. When Jinnu began spending nights with Nyolong, the constellations shifted. Astronomers blamed it on data errors. Astrologers whispered about destiny changing. Her family knew the truth. The Weaver Queen, her mother, stood before the loom of stars, fingers trembling as she traced the threads of destiny. One thread glowed brighter than the rest. Nyolong. A human thread. Intertwined with Jinnu's. The queen felt something she had not felt in millennia. Fear. They came for her on a rainy night. Nyolong was cooking instant noodles while Jinnu sat on the floor, drawing patterns that looked suspiciously like constellations. The air changed suddenly. The rain froze midair. The streetlights flickered. The world held its breath. Then the door opened without being touched. Figures in white stepped inside, their presence heavy, as if gravity bowed to them. Nyolong dropped the pot. Jinnu stood up slowly. Her eyes were calm, but her hands were shaking. "They found me," she whispered. Who? Nyolang asked. His voice barely audible. She looked at him, and for a moment, her eyes were not human. They are my family. They did not fight. They did not argue. They simply took her. Nyolang tried to grab her hand, but the moment he touched her skin, he felt something like lightning in his veins. A force pushed him back, invisible and absolute. Jinnu screamed his name. He screamed hers. The rain resumed. The light stabilized. The world pretended nothing supernatural had happened. But she was gone. And in the sky that night, a river of stars appeared brighter than ever. The Milky Way. He searched for her for months. He told everyone she had been kidnapped. He filed reports. He followed every lead. Nothing. She had vanished as if she had never existed. Until one night, exactly a year later, his phone lit up. A message. Look at the sky. He ran outside. The Milky Way shimmered like a wound in the heavens. And on a small rooftop, across the city, he saw her. Standing there, smiling, crying, glowing. She looked closer and farther than ever. They talked for hours that night, shouting across the rooftops like children. She told him everything. About the Weaver Queen. About the celestial laws. About how her love was considered a defect in reality. They let me see you once a year, she said softly. To remind me why I must never choose you again. He laughed bitterly. Are you going to stop choosing me? She shook her head. Never. Years passed. They met once a year, always under the same stars, always separated by distance, always refusing to let that distance win. They wrote letters they could never send. They recorded voice messages they could only play once a year. They memorized each other's faces, afraid memory would fade. Nyolang grew older. Jinnu did not. She watched him age with a pain no immortal was supposed to feel. You are changing, she whispered one night. That is what humans do, he replied. She pressed her hand against the air, wishing she could touch him. Then I will remember every version of you. 1 year, Nyolang did not show up. Jinnu waited on the rooftop, heart pounding in a body that should not have a heartbeat. She searched the city from above, breaking every celestial rule. She found him in a hospital bed, eyes closed, hair gray, breathing slow. She sat beside him, invisible, and held his hand. I am still choosing you, she whispered. His fingers twitched, as if he heard her. And the stars above them trembled. The sky had never felt so quiet. For centuries, Jinnu had believed the universe was loud, full of spinning galaxies, collapsing stars, and destinies being written in invisible ink. But that night, as she sat beside Nyolang's hospital bed, the universe felt silent. Terrifyingly silent. He looked small. The man who once laughed too loudly, walked too fast, and dreamed too recklessly now lay still, his chest rising and falling like a fragile tide. Machines beeped softly, counting time in a language humans trusted more than prayer. Jinnu had lived for thousands of years, yet she had never understood time. Until she watched it steal him. Immortality was supposed to be a gift. It meant never forgetting, never decaying, never losing yourself to the slow erosion of years. But sitting beside Nyolang, Jinnu realized immortality was also a curse because it meant she would remember everything. She remembered the first day she met him. He had been feeding a stray cow in the countryside, talking to it as if it were a philosopher. "You think humans are strange, right?" he had said, scratching the cow's ear. "We spend our whole lives trying to understand the sky, but we never ask the earth how it feels about holding us." She had laughed and stepped forward, introducing herself like she was just another girl passing through. She had not known that this meeting would fracture destiny itself. The doctors said he might not wake up. His body was tired. His heart had carried too many years, too many disappointments, too many silent goodbyes. "He needs rest," they said. Sometimes rest means letting go. Jinu did not understand the phrase. Letting go of what, of whom? She leaned closer and whispered. "Do not let go of me." His hand twitched. For a moment, she thought he was waking up. But it was only the body reacting to ghosts. The Weaver Queen appeared beside her like a shadow woven from stars. "You are breaking every law," her mother said calmly. "Again." "I do not care," Jinu replied. The queen looked at Nyolong with eyes that had watched civilizations rise and fall. "He is mortal," she said. "He was always meant to be temporary." Jinu clenched her fists. So was everything. Empires. Suns. Even gods. "Why is love the only thing you forbid?" The queen was silent for a long time. "Because love changes the pattern," she finally said. "And the universe is fragile." Nyolong's breathing slowed. The machines grew louder. Jinu felt something new: panic. Not cosmic panic. Not divine panic. Human panic. She grabbed his hand, ignoring the rules that made her invisible. "Nyolong, I am here," she whispered. "You promised me you would wait for me. You promised you would meet me every year. You promised you would not leave first." Her voice broke. "I am not ready to be the one who stays." His lips moved slightly. She leaned closer. "I do not regret loving you," he murmured. Her heart, something immortals were not supposed to have shattered. The night he died, the Milky Way trembled. Astronomers reported gravitational anomalies. Satellites malfunctioned. Astrologers claimed destiny had rewritten itself. In heaven, the celestial bridge, the one that allowed them to meet once a year, collapsed into stardust. Jinu screamed, and her scream echoed through galaxies. She knelt beside his lifeless body, holding his hand long after it grew cold. "I still choose you," she whispered. "But love does not resurrect the dead." Heaven expected her to return. To forget. To continue weaving stars as if nothing had happened. She did none of that. Instead, she walked to the edge of the celestial realm, where souls entered the cycle of reincarnation. "Erase me," she said to the guardians of fate. They stared at her in shock. "You cannot erase a celestial being." "Then rewrite me," she said. "Make me human." The universe hesitated. No immortal had ever chosen mortality. Nyolong was born again in a small village. He cried loudly, like someone furious at being alive. He grew up loving animals, staring at the sky, and feeling a strange emptiness he could not name. Sometimes he dreamed of stars. Sometimes he dreamed of a girl who looked like the universe was reflected in her eyes. He did not know her name. But he missed her. Jinu was born on a stormy night. Lightning painted the sky like a tapestry unraveling. Her parents said she had strange eyes, too deep, too knowing. As a child, she felt the sky calling her. But she did not look up with longing. She looked up with familiarity. They met in a quiet cafe in a city that had forgotten magic. He was writing something in a notebook. She was drawing constellations on a napkin. Their eyes met. The world paused. "Do I know you?" he asked. She smiled, tears in her eyes. "No," she said. But inside, she screamed, "Yes. You know me across galaxies, across lifetimes, across every rule ever written." They talked for hours. They laughed. They felt something that did not have a name in any language. At the end of the night, he said, "It feels like I have been waiting for you." She replied softly, "Me too."